Mashin Sentai Kiramager and Kishiryu Sentai Ryusoulger are two of my favorite seasons of Super Sentai. So when Kiramager was nearing its finale a few years ago, I was pretty disappointed when it seemed like we wouldn't be getting a crossover between the two seasons due to world events. Until Toei decided to bait the entire Super Sentai fandom and made a surprise announcement for the Mashin Sentai Kiramager vs. Ryusoulger movie. Today, I finally got around to watching one of my most anticipated Sentai crossover movies, and as expected, I really enjoyed it. Make sure you let me know what you thought of this movie down in the comment section before you hear all of my thoughts on it in this video. But if you haven't seen the movie yet, beware of spoilers. Instead, I recommend checking out some of my other videos, like the two crossover movies before this one, reviews on the seasons that are in this movie, analyses on how to adapt them, or whatever random video I've chosen to put on the screen right now. If you find yourself enjoying this video at any point, make sure you consider subscribing to the channel and checking out my Patreon for even more Sentai videos. It would be greatly appreciated. One thing that really sticks out to me about this movie is that it's action-packed, obviously, but not a lot of it is with the actual Rangers in suit. The Ryusoulgers only transform for the final battle, and they are half of the main cast of the movie. So it's kind of a crazy fact about this movie, but it's also kind of awesome. We don't get a lot of civilian fights usually, let alone a civilian team-up fight, so it was really cool to get a lot of those in this. This movie has a lot of respectful continuations of Ryusoulger, and this is one of them. We don't undo the ending immediately just to have the two groups of suits together. So this means that the character interactions in the movie are almost exclusively with them as just two semi-normal groups of people, and the result is that the movie is just so much fun. Part of this is also caused by the plot of the movie. I think it's just really cute that this is basically just a normal Kiramager Jotunheim scheme, but the big twist is that they're making a movie because this is a movie. Adobe Premiere even makes a cameo at one point. The implementation of the Ryusoulger villains is pretty flawless as well, because it once again respects how that season ended where most of them were just reformed. Since Creon mentioned Weisel, I do kind of wish that we got a cameo from Weisel because he's the best villain in Super Sentai, but I think it's still cool how Creon functions as a minor side character with the heroes, and the Minosaurs were forcefully created this time. That scene was creepy and mean. Screw Yodona. Hey, that's what Kanalo wanted to do. Once again, making Kanalo's newest simp target a character from another show elevates his usual gag to a more comedic and interesting level. I guess because it turns Kanalo acting like a fool into a fun crossover between characters that we already know. It kind of makes me wonder if they should have done something like that for Ryusoulger, like maybe they used returning characters as the people he simps in the show. I thought Yodona was unintentionally really funny too. People say Superman's secret identity thing wouldn't work in real life, but in this movie, Yodona is completely unrecognizable by her enemies once she changes her hair and puts on a business outfit with some glasses. She also just kicks Kanalo 10 feet away after he professes his love, and her last scene of the movie is just showing up to the final battle and annihilating the 6 Rangers. She just walks away as they are dying. So like, technically a villain wins at the end of the movie for no real reason, but these are some real nice pyrotechnics, so I can't complain. I will complain about Garza's inclusion in this movie though. I like him in the show, and it's nice to see his awesome armor back in action, but here it just felt out of nowhere. Like, yeah, he cameos at earlier points, but he's not part of the movie's plot at all, so it seems weird to have him be the climactic fight for two of the characters. I feel like they should have just fought Yodona again, and then you can still have her kick their asses. But the actual heroes in this movie are amazing. I love how one Kiramager and one Ryusoulger are paired together for pretty much the entirety of the film. It makes all the interactions between the different teams be on a one-to-one level, and I don't know, it just makes the crossover elements of the film be more intimate and enjoyable. In some cases, there's even an arc of some kind or some kind of payoff to an earlier interaction, which is pretty neat. Kanalo and Takemichi are kind of the least interesting of this because they aren't in the movie. They're just running around around, and they had some fun interactions because Kanalo's down bad, but that's about it. For the main team, they're all stuck in different movies. It lets the big movie do a lot of gags with the different genres of little movies, which is really fun, but I also liked how the different genres are used to kind of highlight the personalities of the characters in very specific settings. Senna and Toa's segment just boils down to they're fast. So there's not much to that, but I guess when you have two fast Green Rangers, having them chase each other is the most enjoyable way to have them interact. Likewise, I feel like there was more that could have been done with Banba and Shigeru's storyline. Shigeru's whole thing in Kiramager is that he's an actor, and one thing that's always bugged me is that the show treats this like him being a master swordsman. No, that's the equivalent of calling Tom Cruise a master helicopter pilot because he learned how to drive it for a movie. Except he actually is driving a helicopter. Shigeru is not actually using a sword, I assume? Unless he is actually using swords on set, in which case that's not safe. Anyways, so now we actually get to see Shigeru acting in a movie, but now he's confronted with the most experienced member of the Ryusoulgers, and I thought there was an opportunity here to have Shigeru learn actual swordsmanship, but instead, at the end of the movie, Banba is just like, oh, Shigeru, you're a pretty good swordsman. Banba! No! I trusted you! Yeah, I don't know, it was just weird. Asuna and Sayo's deal is funny because I have no idea what it's supposed to be. It's like a movie where there's two gangs and then they try to beat each other up, and it's actually somewhat brutal. But then the next time we see them, they already know each other. So what, was it an act the whole time? Did you guys instantly recognize each other? I have no idea. I did like that this pairing does have the characters learning from each other, but instead of having the new character learn something from their senior, it's the reverse. Not only was this a neat subversion of a standard trope, but it was also another cool usage of the timeline, since Asuna is now a teacher after Ryusoulger and she wants to pass a new lesson on to her students. A pairing I really wasn't thinking I'd enjoy as much as I did was Tamatomo and Melt. It's not like I hate either character, I actually really like Tamatomo, but I guess since Melt is my least favorite of all of these characters, I didn't really have any expectations here. So when we cut to the two characters in their casino movie, and immediately Tamatomo recognizes Melt, and then they immediately start talking strategy about how to escape, I was super caught off guard. I thought it was a really cool interaction. That's kind of about it, but I thought it was a really good usage of the characters, and it shows that they did a really good job pairing them together. It gives us this interaction of the two strategists from either team rather than, well, this one's blue and this one's blue too. I guess they can talk to each other. Actually, I also did really like how they had a little conversation about Melt missing the Kishiryu and them being sealed away, which sets up later on when Tamatomo tells the whole group how to bring them back by using the memories they have of them that Melt mentioned. Speaking of bringing back the Kishiryu, this final battle is so awesome. As I mentioned earlier, by not having the Ryusoulgers transform for the entire movie, once they do it in the final battle, it's so incredibly satisfying. Now, admittedly, I do think it's kind of cheap that the way they get their powers back is that they can just ask nicely and they can use the swords again. I think it would have been better if we moved the entire Kirame King moment earlier so that the entire Ryusoulger arsenal at this moment is just like a manifestation of the Kirame stones. It's probably my biggest issue with the movie. It feels really clunky that Oto just goes and asks for the swords and then is able to carry them all back, but it is kind of just a minor nitpick. The same goes for this last civilian fight, actually, because the Kiramagers are able to transform, but they choose not to for some reason, and then the Ryusoulgers have no weapons. Some of these guys are knights. You could give them some real swords, but, I mean, not real swords, obviously, fake swords, but they're real in the movie. That could have been cool. But after that, the action is so good. I love that after both teams morph, we get a unique mid-battle on-the-field roll call before we get the standard two teams stand next to each other and big explosions happen behind them so we can put it in the trailers. But then, if that wasn't cool enough, we get the Kirame armor. Oh my god. I genuinely do not know the last time we got Super Sentai crossover forms, if ever, and making it a super cool looking armor team power-up that matches the Ryusoulger aesthetic and the Kiramager aesthetic is amazing. Seeing all the duos we've seen messing around together throughout the film finally armor up and then fight together and then each get a unique finisher to defeat their corresponding monster was so damn fulfilling. This is actually where a lot of the interactions get paid off, so it's like a fight that has story relevance and it's just awesome. I love it. Even the little sisters get a brief team up standout moment, which is really fun. But then, if it wasn't cool enough, and it really was cool enough, that could have been a great end to the movie, but then we get a mecha team up as well! Just the novelty of that alone, having these two mechas fight together is fantastic, but then it's also really good. It's paired with the Six Ranger fight on the ground, so we get some variety. There are some really cool ground shots to sell the size of the robots, and just like their pilots on the ground, they get to do a finisher together. So yeah, from a visual crossover level, this movie manages to hit all of my buttons. And thematically, well, let me finish talking about all the character interactions because I did leave out the Red Rangers. I enjoyed how just plain wholesome this subplot was. It started off really funny because Ko just sails back to Japan on a rickety sailboat and then has the audacity to ask Juru what he's doing on the shore. Juru is perfectly normal. Ko, what are you doing? And then I thought Ko trying to help Juru with his drawings was cute because it's not really that complicated of a plot line and it relates to one of the characters very well, but it led to some great moments. I think the standout moment is when his classic Kiramager is replaced with the kaboom sound, and then he ends up getting the whole cast to do the ending dance within the actual movie. And then it comes back around when Juru is teaching the Ryusoulgers how to do their own Kiramager. But my favorite part of the Red's companionship, and maybe the entire film, is the little tribute to Ui from Ryusoulger. The way Ko helps Juru is by giving him a lesson about not overthinking his art, which comes from Yui, as he mentions that when his friend that makes videos stopped thinking so much and just enjoyed herself, she ended up making a video that everyone loved. In case you didn't know, unfortunately the actress that played Ui passed away sometime after the show ended, which is partly why that one special chapter was made. But I thought this was a much more beautiful tribute to the actress and the character that she played. Even though it's technically what saves the day here, they don't overplay it at all. It feels very natural how Ko brings something up to help his new friend, and he doesn't even mention Ui's name at all. If you don't know about the unfortunate reality we live in, it just seems like Ko remembered something to help Juru and then now wants to introduce him to a friend. But if you do know, in my opinion, the subtlety made this an incredibly touching send-off to the main Ryusoulger cast and the friend that they lost. As much as I loved all the action scenes, and I really do, they're awesome, my big takeaway for why this movie is so great was Ui's little message about just doing something you enjoy, delivered through Ko to Juru because she's unable to do so herself. So this movie was great. It delivers all the silliness of Kiramager, the emotion of Ryusoulger, and the epic fights of both shows, ×2. Remember to let me know what you thought of the movie, and don't forget I've got one more Versus movie to take a look at. So don't forget to check out my Patreon where you can watch that video early, or just subscribe to the channel for all of my Super Sentai videos, and I hope to see you next time.